Hey Go fans, we're going to talk about a pretty special move today. The move we're going to talk about is this one. And this is one of the newer moves that has been really popularized by AlphaGo. I think we first really saw this it wasn't one of the AlphaGo Elite Eight All games, it was one of the games that DeepMind had released after the fact after that event, where AlphaGo played itself. And this was a move that we saw in those games, this attachment to a 4/3 stone. And, oops, I'm just changing colors all around here. I should know how left and right arrow keys work, I suppose. And the context of this move is, white had something else, and black, I think the first time we saw it in one of those games, I think it was a high Chinese or low Chinese. It might have been high Chinese. And white plays here, this attachment. You can actually play this in lots of circumstances. You don't have to be in a Chinese formation to play this attachment. It is only marginally worse than playing this approach. And I mean, maybe marginal is at a high level. Maybe it's more than marginal. But for Q players and even low Dom players, like the difference between this and this is actually really marginal. So you got to know this. You're going to see it. So here, let's even like just go backward a step. Even if I'm telling you right now that this move is better, normally, why would you ever want to play this one? And you play this one when it's an issue with spacing. And let me show you what I mean. Let me give you some examples. Let's say, again, let's put a white stone down here. I'm also trying I'm on OGS here and I'm way zoomed in, and I'm hoping this makes it easier to see, but this might just be like ridiculously large Go content. So if you don't like the sizing of this board, I leave a comment. I don't know. Let's look at this situation. And white makes this approach normally. White's probably going to get kicked. Normal response would be to here, and then black can play this one or this one. Let's play a little more aggressive one right now. And then what's white's next move? This stone is right in its natural extension. You have a 2-stone wall. You want to extend 3 spaces. You want to put a stone there or right there. I can't even click there because there's a stone there. And that's not great for white. This stone is doing hard work for black, like preventing the natural extension. But let's see what happens when white plays this one. And in this case, we're going to go over some of the variations. Let me show you perhaps the more, one of the variations, the simplest one, I think. Check this out. When white extends here, this is a little bit narrow of an extension. You have a 2-stone wall. You really want to go 3 spaces. But in this case, we're not real. Actually, in this case, it might even be better to do that one. Still go 3 spaces and just do this sort of thing. We actually just have an extra line of space. Like, we have more room to settle our group when we make a 2-stone wall here on the, what's the 4th line out from the left rather than the 5th line. This stone isn't as severe. Isn't that cool? Like, if we're able to get more or less the same formation, right, just to go back, I'm taking these 2 stones and I'm shoving them one over to the left. And so you'll see this a lot when this is an issue of space, where white really just wants an extra line of space on the top of the board for some reason, normally to make more room for settling. But again, there can be more reasons than that. Alternatively, in this case, if black plays the best variation, and again, we can talk through some of these variations by honeying here, white might actually play this side and do some sort of exchange for thickness and take the outside. And yes, black is still getting this territory, but this territory is not solid yet. Black really needs another move over here. And, even though white is thin on this outside wall, this is still outside thickness. We actually reduced the large potential of this corner. So this move is surprisingly flexible, often in a way that this move isn't. And so if you are entering enemy airspace and you need some extra flexibility, this is a way to create it for yourself. And so I do want to make that very clear, that this is still kind of technically better, like in an all-purpose, like open board kind of scenario. But there's a lot of circumstances where you don't have all these open points and can play the most fair Joseki. You have to play a little bit dirty. And that's where this one comes in. All right, so let's say you now know this, and you're going to start trying this move out in your own games. And I'm sure most of you guys have seen this before at this point. This is no longer like a secret move. I remember seeing it in those first AlphaGo Deep Mind games, and everyone's mind is sort of being blown. Like, wait, what? Is that legit? Also, there's a huge fly in my room. Oh, man. That thing is massive. All right, I'm distracted easily. Can you tell? Anyway, ignore the fly, Nick. You can do it. When we start playing, when people first started seeing this move being played, it was totally like mind blowing. It was just like, oh wow, the robots are real, because they can make these attachments work so easily. And so if you learn these patterns that I'm going to teach you, you can actually apply them to not just the corner, but other places on the board. A lot of the same logic applies. This is going to be a lesson, even though we're talking about very specific Joseki patterns, the concepts here can be extended to so many attachments. All right, so anyway, in this case, we normally talk about black having 4 lines of play here. And this is normally the best one. This is normally the best move for black just in a vacuum. But it actually can be the most complicated, believe it or not. Like most of the time it's going to end very simply, but it can get complicated. And so we'll save that one for last, and we'll show you why. I want to show you some of the more simple ones first. Let's say black, got attached to and just wants to dig in and just be super solid. Black has a couple options for doing that, namely this move and this move. And the interesting thing about this move, if we look at this one first, this one actually just transposes to an exact 3-4 variation. When black has the corner, white can shoulder hit, extend, or extend and jump. Both of these are fine. And so if you know all these 3-4 Josekis, these still apply. Like white will get some sort of central thickness, black will maintain the corner, some sort of low group. It's a very simple variation. If we play this way, we can do something along these lines. Actually, I think I haven't played this Joseki in a while. I should know this. Lol. Here? 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 I don't remember. I should actually prep this more before trying to give you guys a Go lecture topic about it. Yeah, if black takes this side, white gets this side, something along these lines. And so now white has thickness facing the top, and black has a good, 12 to 14 points in the corner. Pretty good corner, but again, no more development possible for black, really. So anyway, the point is these transpose to this well-known 3-3-4-4 version. Oops, no. If black just dives into the corner. This one's a little more interesting. This one's a little bit more new. We don't see this shape very often. And in this case, usually the best move for white is to just come down. And the corner is very big, so usually the best move for black is to block here. Also, if white gets the corner, this is, first of all, just a huge amount of territory compared to what white was getting before and taking away from black. Right, if you just eyeball it. Like in this case, black gets, let's say, about an 8-point corner. In this case, white gets almost, we'll say, a 6-point corner, how it currently sort of measures out. So it's like a 14-point swing. Now, black does get the outside and does have that choice, but that's just a huge amount of points to swing. So usually black comes down. In this case, white can hane. Is probably best. And then depending on the situation, white can make a base with any one of these, or even play this sort of very tight move that threatens this hane at b19. And that's a big move because, let's say black comes in here, we take this, if black defends, white can continue harassing this group. And even though this is a live shape for black, look how sad its existence is. Like this glorious, what we formerly had was a solid 8-point corner is now a cowering 6-point, actually more like 5-point corner. And white still has all this outside. So that'd be a great result for white. So often in this case we see black take this Atari, and here white can Tanuki. White actually isn't super overly committed to these stones, believe it or not. We've exchanged them all 1 for 1. They're actually still a little bit on the light side. They're hard to attack as a group and really kill. Or white can play some sort of extension, really anything over here to just use them. It's the robots really like tanukiing away from this sort of formation and finding some other way to use it, not being overly committed. So that's pretty common. Again, you can always just play the basic, make a base stone and dig in. And you might say, you might look at this and go, oh, black is doing really well. Black has the corner, and this is very solid. And there's still an invasion point in here, and black can annoy and do all sorts of things to this and harass it. True, but this was black's side of the board to begin with. And this is the real kicker. When you look at this sequence, we have bad sequences for white like this, where black hanes here. And just compare the difference. When this stone is one space to the left, white doesn't feel nearly as much pressure as white does right now. And so if this was the case, white would be under a lot of pressure to keep playing. And black gets a much bigger corner and gets out. White actually still has a little bit of a problem here with moves like this, or possibly like this, or this. All these are follow-ups, potential follow-ups for black. Anyway, I'm rambling a little bit. I think the real point is that when black has these 3 stones in a row, this is slow. Like, there's actually not enough pressure placed on these 2 white stones. And so when white plays a formation like this, or any of the other ones, white is fine. Like, this is inefficient. If black has to play another stone, and another stone, and another stone to kill it, that's great. Like, that's too over-concentrated. That's too many moves. So white is happy. Okay, so again, those are the 2 easiest, most basic versions where white basically, the Joseki either, quote-unquote, reverts back to a 3-4 Joseki, or a 3-3 Joseki, or white just takes this easily settling pattern. And again, you can play here, you can play here, you can play here. They're all options. Let's look at the next hardest variation. And this is one I've played this move a number of times in my own games, and I often see my opponents do this. This is very common, at least at the Dawn level. And it's not very good. It's okay. Like, it's playable. Let me put it this way. The variation that my opponents choose is actually generally not okay. If you play the correct way, it's okay. Not the best, but can be done. This is the correct follow-up for white. You have to know this move. And the first thing you should always read whenever you're reading is the most severe possibility. And the most severe possibility for black is this. But this is a really hard fight. This is just nasty for black. Like, white has the 3-3 point. That's the most defendable stone of this whole group. And white already has this ladder set up on the D15 stone. And so, like, as black, what do you do here? Like, this is madness. If you just go after this stone, white can ladder and or maybe even ask for a ko first and just ladder this out. And again, since this is black's corner, there's a very high probability that white owns the other corner. So this is very likely that white is able to capture this in a ladder. If white isn't able to capture this in a ladder, if white has any other strength at the side and the top, white might be able to just do this and fight this way. Very scary stuff for black, like sort of getting hemmed into the corner so severely, especially when you played this one so that wouldn't happen. Let's see, what else can black do? If black just connects, not a problem. Again, white probably won't play that one. In this case, white will probably just take. And if black doesn't play here, like if black does anything else, this is a very big move for white to both live, take the corner, and threaten black space. So black probably takes this. But then, again, white has an extension move, and black's corner has been very much reduced. It's down to the second line. And we capture a stone and have a Panuki. Good result for white. Maybe the most severe move for black is here. Maybe. But this also looks, I don't know the correct sequence. This seems very dubious for black to do. But maybe we can find something here. Black has to do something with these 2 stones. Connecting here just results in their death. So maybe take an Atari first. This seems strongest. This seems hard to deal with as white. But maybe it's actually not that hard. This threatens. Now we have a 4-3 capturing race. So if black has nothing else out here, this ladder doesn't work. Black just dies? Okay. Black takes this one first. Oh, we can just exchange that stone for that stone. That's again a good result for white. So anyway, this type of fight is very beneficial to the invader. It basically takes a situation where black has the advantage and makes it so that nobody has the advantage. Everybody will get a equal share result. So we don't play this. The option I see probably most often in my games is here. And this is not necessarily the best move in this case. Sorry, the black Atari. Black is pretty committed to now playing here. This is now the best move for white, and white is totally solid, has a nice big corner, and black's influence is really not that worth that much, unless black already has a lot of potential on the left-hand side. Totally not worth that much. So this is a good result for white. Like, it's, the more you look at it, the more you should like it. Black still has a defect, not a real base, some thickness, but again, it's not like thickness that's totally facing the outside. Like you can kind of imagine that, oh, here, let me put this stone here, and this stone here, and this stone here. Like, this thickness may be worth something more, even though white has a peep here. This thickness is actually facing much more towards the center, and might be much more useful. So, this is not right. The best move for black is going to be a little bit shocking here. And if you're going to learn, just like memorize, like one of these patterns just rote from the Joseki, I would put this, maybe this wouldn't be the one, actually. This would be top 2, though. Maybe this is the number 2 move, is this move. Wow. Whew. Do you guys feel like Go players yet? If you start playing moves like that, this is a Q move, right? Triple Hane. You just gave up a stone just for no reason, right? Well, actually, this is a great stone to give up. If white takes the corner, then black gets a very nice Panuki on the outside. This is very strong, very projecting lots of influence. So if white is as greedy and says, oh yeah, I just want your corner, whoops, oh, that's a misclick, you get a good result. And that could even be worse if white just takes, because then there's this co-follow-up that you have to look at co-threats and figure out, but still there. So what else can white do? White can try Atariing this way, but it's no better. Like, there are too many cuts. So white can't really Atari here. White's best option is to fix. Then black gets to fix. Then white will Hane. Black should extend. White will Hane. At this point, black can Tanuki. Black, if black has some pressure, for instance, if black somehow has something over here and can pressure this, then a move like this is very good to take away the base. Black could build the center. Black could extend down the left. You can imagine a bigger extension there. Black has lots of options. Black doesn't need to keep playing here. This is actually strong enough to more or less fend on its own. But that being said, this is a big move too. So if you're close to endgame or you care about the white base, and you have something to attack the white base, you can do this. Of course, in this position, white's not going to care. White's just going to extend and continue to do something else. But this is proper. If you get in this situation, don't play this. That's good for white. You have to. I guess technically it's a double Hane, but it looks like a triple Hane, right? Like, it looks super cool. So there, fix, and then Tanuki or fix or whatever you want to do. All right, so those are really the two sequences you're going to see when black Hane is on the outside. All right, now all those moves I showed you, right, all those responses, this one, and this one, and this one, in terms of local absolute terms on an empty board, these are all inferior, of course, to this one. This is the move you're going to see, or at least you should see the most often. This is the one we care about the most. And in this case, white has a choice. Isn't that cool? You invaded, and now you have a choice for what you want? How often does that happen? Let's play this way. Let's assume white's going to build the outside. Black has two good options here. This is the main one. This just taking this Atari and then fix. Or black can fix directly. There are some subtle distinctions, but most of the time they transpose almost exactly the same. Because often white is going to play here. And so you might play this one as black. If you want to play this as your next move. For instance, if you played this, and there's no potential on the top, like none, where you don't want to build anything big here, right? White can just play this out. Like if you don't want this, like imagine there's a white strong group right here or something, then it's probably better just to play this way and change direction. And that way you can really dig in and just take third line and be strong. If white does a move like this, that's fine. You just come underneath, and you can even play there. You get even a few more points, and white's not completely settled. White's strong, so nothing's in danger. But this is also a fine result. Okay, so this is very simple. This is a way to keep it simple. This one can lead to a little more complexity, although most of the time in most of the games I see that it doesn't. Because at this point, white has a choice. There's actually 3 good moves for white. The one that I see the most often, at least at dawn level, is this one. And it's actually, I think it's the worst one of the 3. Just making this exchange. It's really important. You might not realize this. This move is actually really big for black. Like it really builds so much influence, and white has to just keep responding in kind of lame ways to just keep some semblance of a group over here. So pushing up here is very big, but white has better. The first potentially good move is to ask for an exchange here. Hey, can I have your corner? No? Okay. And then white gets to come back over here and do something. So this is a very minor exchange. For right now, I'm gonna just tell you guys it's play it if you feel like it, is I think what I'm going to say. The subtleties of when to play this and when not to play this, not terribly important, at least at this point, I don't think, because that's not really the move I want to show you. But the nice thing to know is if black doesn't play here, if black doesn't make this exchange, this is actually a pretty good follow-up for white. It looks really small, but it totally exposes the C17 cut. And so if black doesn't respond, it's kind of like white gets 2 moves in the corner for free. Maybe not for free, but for, like, I mean, it's really about this cut. And so even if black comes on top, you don't care, because this cut is still exposed. Black still needs a move to fix it, and then you can do whatever you want. Okay, so after this Atari and fix, again, this is option 1. I guess this was technically option 1, but this is probably the most inferior one. This is probably second best option, make this exchange. But regardless if you make this exchange or not, the next move is the same, is to play here. And again, if we go back, you can see this move still kind of exposes the cut. In this case, it's not perfect, but here we can show you how tenuous it is. There is this move for black to capture the 2 stones, but there's still a lot of Aji here. And black doesn't really want to make moves like this because, of course, it gives white more free things. Empty triangle. All right. So what else are black's? What should black do here? I guess is the answer. Pushing and cutting is a really interesting sequence. And when I said, there's a sequence you should know, it's really a concept. It's not even a sequence because there's a lot of variations here. But there is a key point after this cut for white. And finding it is a little bit hard if you've never seen a move like this before. Because it's this diagonal. This diagonal kind of gets white out of all the trouble. This cut is still exposed. This is threatening to just capture the stone. Before we couldn't capture it, right? Because it's Atari. Right, it just doesn't work. But this move, totally threatens to capture this now. And it keeps us with more liberty so we can actually fight the cut. Black's best continuation here is to probably take this Atari and jump to keep the pressure on. White may or may not make this exchange first. But then you just aim at this cut. And it's a pain for black to deal with, though it can be done. In this case, this is a good Aji sequence. Oh, actually, I think even this is a better good Aji sequence. There we go. You'll see why in a second, why this exchange is good. We have a capturing race. Yes, a good old-fashioned capturing race, 3-3. So black needs to play any move out here on the inside to make it 2-3. And then we can do some nasty, terrible things. It looks like... Can we play here? Should actually figure this out. Maybe not quite. I thought we could. Why do I think this move works? This is totally like tingling my little like Tsuji senses. It feels like there's got to be a ko here. Whoops. But maybe not. Okay. All right. Anyway, we have a. We can shorten liberties more from the outside, or we can also take some more liberties away from the inside and get more base over here. There's another move you need to know, though, going back to this variation. And it's this one. This one can make black's life very difficult. And so if black just defends, we get out. If black cuts, well, this is more interesting. There is a weakness here that black has to be very careful of after a move like this. You can kind of see this problem that black has. Pretty cool. Key point, you can tell like it's a missing bamboo joint, so you can actually play it. And same thing there. Very, very hard for black to deal with. So you got to know this attachment, which can be very difficult to find. But once you see it, you can see how crippling it can be. All right, let's review this pattern, because I think we got a little bit too far. I kind of glazed over this little Aji exchange. This is a really nice Aji pattern, if you've never seen something like this. Oh, man. and this is also one of those patterns that never gets played out, right? Unless you're a Q player and your opponent just bulldozes into everything. But if your opponent bulldozes through everything, they're not going to have all the fancy shape points here, so... This is just no one's ever going to play this out. But I think it's important to understand it conceptually that this Joseki is still sound. Because this cut doesn't quite work. Because, by the cut I mean this black push cut. Because of the cut it leaves behind here, as well as this Tsuji here later on. Okay, so the pattern looks like this. You play there. If black just pushes and cuts, you play there. If black insists on a fight, you play there. And then there. And then cut. And then this is a sacrifice stone, like black can kill this, but we want to get the most Aji possible from it. And that one. This is a nice little, this is such a cool little like Aji getter. I don't know what to call it. If we don't make this exchange, we can just play this, like this is fine. But when I go to Hana here, black just plays here. Now this capturing race is not interesting. Black has 4 liberties, I only have 2. So, not as interesting. For sure. So, we push here. We peep here. Again, it's total Sente. We play here to get that fill in. You might wonder why not do an actual throw-in. Well, because of this. This doesn't work. Although actually, this is a. I mean, it totally kills our left hand side, but this is kind of an interesting last ditch effort to link up these stones, if you just need to link those up. Although actually, wait a second, hold on. What? Can we kill the corner now? No. Okay, never mind. Dreaming. The corner looks dangerous. Oh man. Yeah, so we play here, force, play here, start a capturing race, or you can, again, make this exchange first, then start a capturing race. And, again, come back down here and player Tetsuji. Pretty nice. Pretty fancy. I'm on the big board. Whew. All right, so let's not play that variation in your own games. If you are black, you probably shouldn't push here. Instead, it's probably better to peep one of these two places. Here or here. And most common response to this type of move is to make this exchange. Again, this is a good exchange for black. And then for white to counter pincer, and then it's some sort of fight. And after this point, I don't want to claim what's going to happen. Now anything on the board will affect it. And this can go a lot of different ways. But in the meantime, black has secured a pretty large corner and has managed to start a fight for the black group, or really over the white group. And so this is more the type expected of continuation. Of course, if you don't peep here, if you just want to harass, maybe that one, you can do that too. There's still this Aji though. And the nice thing about threatening this peep is that white kind of has to fix the Aji for you. Right now there's no more Aji. But if you just go take a larger move here, it leaves that cut, and that's really annoying. So white is not as weak as you think because of this cut. And so that's why we can poke directly, force everyone to fix, and then we just fight over here like an open fight. Whew. All right. If we played this side, this works out almost the exact same way, or I guess it does literally the exact same way, just transposed or rotated. If we want to continue locally, again, this is sort of one of these two moves is usually the best. So, in the end, white will have some thickness and kind of have a fight on the outside, or, again, as black, you don't really have to, if white plays here, you don't even have to play this right away. You probably want to just to fix the Aji, but you could extend over here and just fix the Aji this way directly and leave this push cut there sequence for later. But the problem is it doesn't fix the Aji completely. Like this move's actually a better fix for it, but this is just too slow without some sort of provocation, without some sort of exchange. Like we don't ever really want to extend from our own stone one stone in Gote. So we want to find a better sequence. Probably just there is actually better than this in most cases. That actually fixes it better. Let's play that one. And then white has to find a move to either fix or settle or build, do something. So this is the type of sequence you're going to see most often. Hane, Atari, connect, extend, and provoke a fight to fix, or just fix. And that's it. So if you can memorize that, you can probably play this Joseki in 80% of your games and be totally fine. These other variations, again, you're going to see maybe less than 80%. Maybe that one's like 50%. These other variations make up the other 50%. And none of them are terribly hard. But you should know that they are slight minuses for black compared to this. Not a huge difference, like maybe 3 or 4%, but still minuses. So anyway, in conclusion, this move is legit. Don't think it's not. This is totally a playable move. Robots, humans play it alike now, especially when white is cramped on the side that we want to approach. If the stone is already too cramped with more black groups, then we probably don't want to make more space. We want to take away the space. Find every little bit of Aji and momentum we can get. This is the most likely move. You respond to it primarily from double Haneing. This is the most expected sequence, let's say there. But at the same time, you should know what happens here. And these are kind of obvious kind of obvious moves to people who studied Joseki before. If what's the next variation? Sorry, if we play here, again, we just extend the other way and build something on the outside. If our opponent extends on the outside, we extend to the inside and build something on the inside. Like that. Now if our opponent plays here, well, then we just take the inside. It is ours. And again, this is probably the move you'll see the most often because this is just what I see people play. But this is the actual proper one. Whew. So those are all a bunch of patterns. I know these sort of like Joseki videos that have a bunch of patterns aren't always the most useful because it's so hard to memorize, like all that stuff that we just talked about and went over. But conceptually, here's the one concept I want to take with you. If you attach, or your opponent attaches, and you hane, you have to expect the double hane. This is now such a common shape in so many games for invasions and reductions, not just these corner Joseki. This has to be your immediate response. Not this, not that. Crosscut sometimes, but especially when it's not when it's not your neighborhood. This is a little bit more like it's not as chaotic. Like the problem with this is that if black is actually strong enough, black will just kill everything. If black is strong enough to kill everything, you actually have to play a little bit lighter. You can't make so much of a mess that everything just dies. So the hane response is the key takeaway. So anyway, I know this video got a little bit serious, and let me know how you think of the bigger stones and the bigger head and all the things. I guess I'm kind of short today. I should sit up. I should work on my posture. Let me know what you think of this type of format, and happy going. Hopefully you'll get to try these out in your own games. See ya.